Hello, lovely viewers, welcome back to our channel. We are back again with a new knowledgeable and entertaining video. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe button and be a part of our family. Top 10 must-watch horror movies to haunt your dreams.
They're right here, they're trying to tell us something. She's here! Sarah!
Don't Listen stars Rodolfo Sancho as Daniel, a husband and father that is moving into a new home with his family. In the wake of an unforeseen tragedy, a grieving Daniel begins to experience paranormal events in his new home. Seeking out a paranormal expert to get to the root of the supernatural occurrences, what Daniel will discover will change his life forever. A creepy and foreboding haunted house chiller, Don't Listen will have listening for every creak in your home a little extra carefully.
Evil exists. Mr. Ward, how would you like to make $50 million?
Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead finds the DC Comics auteur back in his horror-stomping grounds. Snyder's breakout hit was 2004's Dawn of the Dead remake. Set in a zombie-ravaged present day, the film follows Scott Ward, Dave Bautista, an expat living on the fringes of a desolate Las Vegas. When handed the opportunity of a lifetime by casino magnate Bly Tanaka, Hiroyuki Sanada, break into the quarantine zone to make off with a large surplus of cash before the city is nuked. The anti-hero assembles a wrecking team of hardened warriors and experts to carry out the heist with. A massively staged amalgamation of action and horror, the carnage is abundant and the story is rich for Snyder's return to the world of the undead. From first-time writer-director James Ashcroft comes Coming Home in the Dark. When Alan, his wife, and two stepsons opt for a coastline retreat, their weekend of paradise becomes a masterful nightmare when two men known as Mandrake, Daniel Gillies, and Tubbs, Matthias Luafutu, crash their little vacation. A seemingly innocuous encounter with the drifters soon turns malevolent, especially as the family realizes that this chance encounter may have been in the works for over 2 decades. A powerful debut with standout performances, particularly from Gillies, Coming Home in the Dark is sure to make us all think twice about hitting the beaches.
It's been 3 centuries. It stops here. It stops with...
Based on the R.L. Stine book series of the same name, the Netflix adaptation encompasses 3 films, kicking off with Part 1, 1994. Our story follows Dina Johnson, Kiana Madeira, of Shadyside, a community plagued by a history of horrific murders. Many locals believe this to be the result of a hex from an ancient witch named Sarah Fear, but Dina doesn't buy into the mythos. That is until several of Shadyside's most wicked begin enacting savage acts upon the small town, thrusting Dina and her friends into an all-out fight for survival. An effective slasher and faithful homage to its source material, you can enjoy all 3 legs of the Fear Street chronology on Netflix.
You were the only person who survived. How do we end this?
Remember that you are amazing.
Perusing the annals of the top streaming platforms, there's a number of documentaries that chronicle the rise and fall of major startups, scam artists that finally pay their penance. Such a premise is at play in the 2018 Netflix original, Malevolent. Starring Florence Pugh, Midsommar, Black Widow, and Ben Lloyd Hughes as a fraudulent paranormal investigation duo, the brother-sister team is called to a supposedly haunted estate to carry out their con artist workflow. A job that takes a wicked turn when the decrepit homestead has plans of its own. A chilling haunted house flick that doesn't break the mold but lives comfortably in the confines of the tropes that laid its foundation. Malevolent is a fun plunge into a world of creepy whispers, slamming doors, and disturbed psyches turning on our main characters.
And remember remember that you are amazing.
Based on the horror fantasy children's book of the same name by J.A. White, Nightbooks stars Winslow Fegley as Alex, a creative kid with a penchant for coming up with scary stories. When captured by a witch, Kristen Ritter, the malevolent woman demands that Alex tell her a new spooky tale every night in order to stay alive. Can Alex's ambitious ideas keep him from being destroyed? Nightbooks leans more toward a younger audience, and that's okay in our book. After all, horror movies should be for everyone. Well, not all horror movies. Delivering a dread-laced tone and immersive performances from the main cast, Nightbooks is a great horror flick for the whole family to take in.
On commence par quoi?
Vous avez toutes les réponses. Comprenez ce qui déclenche vos souvenirs.
The director of The Hills Have Eyes, 2006, Horns, and Crawl, Alexandra Asia takes a deep plunge into the popular crossover world of horror meets sci-fi with 2021's Oxygen. The film stars Melanie Laurent as Elizabeth Hansen, a woman who wakes up in a cryogenic pod with depleting oxygen levels, with no clue about how she got there. As the air pours out of her cell, Liz must fight to reclaim any semblance of who she is and why she's been in a cryo-induced slumber. While the narrative may not be entirely fresh, you'll want to watch Oxygen for the breathtaking lead performance from Melanie Laurent, an actor who brings mighty chops to a role that a run-of-the-mill talent could easily phone in.
Appel entrant.
Allô?
Lise, on a presque plus de temps.
산자와 죽은 자 모두가 분노하고 절망하며 살아가는 세상.
Nothing says tantalizing fear like the laid-on-thick stylings of a Korean horror film, and director Tae Hung Kim's The Eighth Night is no exception to this frightful formula. Following a once exorcist-turned-monk named Park Jin-soo, the man is called upon by the Buddhist faith to do battle against a horrific ancient evil, a centuries-old demon that is possessing humans and wreaking havoc. Filled with unusual shocks and beholden to an ultra-haunting atmosphere, The Eighth Night is a spine-tingler for sure and a film you don't want to miss.
Whatever you think you know, you don't know shit!
Makani, Sydney Park, relocates from Hawaii to rural Nebraska, moving in with her grandmother to finish high school. All is normal until a sadistic killer emerges from the woodwork, terrorizing his victims with masks identical to their faces. It's only a matter of time before the psychopath reaches Makani and those surrounding her. A decent slasher with enough scares to keep us all watching. There's Someone Inside Your House owes plenty to genre kingpins like Scream and even Happy Death Day. Although these other two films are a notch or two better in a few ways.
Makani, I know who you are.
After relocating to the Hudson Valley from Manhattan, the Clare family takes up residence in an antique farmhouse. Enamored by his new teaching position, the reason for the family's move, George Clare, James Norton, all but abandons his wife and daughter and begins a lusty affair with one of his students. Catherine, Amanda Seyfried, spends her days at their new home, feeling isolated and increasingly haunted by a presence roaming throughout. As a host of otherworldly apparitions and artifacts begin making themselves known to Catherine, George's own skeletons begin creeping up on him and his family. A movie less about ghosts than the disintegration of one American household, Things Heard.